Alright, lesson 1.5. Our past lesson discussed how to deal with problems including addition and subtraction only. We learned to view addition and subtraction as students. Remember that in a school, students in a lunch line get fed based off of who is in line first. Today this helped us to understand again which one to do first, but today we are going to add in multiplication and division. In terms of order of operations, the first level, again the bottom level, is addition and subtraction. Think about the first operations you learned in school. Now think about the second level of operations you learned, which were multiplication and division. You learned how to do addition, and the very next thing they did was said, okay, let's do subtraction because these two are the same thing. You'll eventually learn they're the same thing, it's just different directions. Then you learn multiplication, and then you learn division because these two are also the same thing, just different directions. One of them is the enter door, one of those is the exit door, but it's the same door, just going different directions. Same thing here. So second level of order of operations is multiplication and division. So the question is, how does incorporating multiplication and division change what we've already learned? And because multiplication and division are on a higher level, they become a first priority over every addition and subtraction sign. So once multiplication and division are worked out, do what you did yesterday. Depending on the students that are in line first, go from there. I am here though because again I don't get paid to just tell you what to do. I take pride in helping you understand it. So again, this is where you want to turn on your thinking cap here, or turn on your brain. I don't think they say thinking cap in your generation anymore. We think of addition and subtraction as students in a lunch line. Hopefully you did that yesterday. So let's think of multiplication and division as teachers. Here's what I need you to know, and I think you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, it happens that you are in a lunch line and you have all these students that are lined up for lunch, and then a teacher walks into the lunchroom and they typically go right into the lunchroom and they get their food. And the reason that happens is because teachers have things to do. We have to make copies, we have to make calls, we have to talk to parents, all that good stuff. And so teachers are allowed to jump in front of students. Students can't jump in front of students, but a teacher can jump in front of students only because we have things to do. So overall, feed the teachers first, then feed the students. So common sense wise, if you just remember that, you will be good at this level of order of operations because it's not that hard to do. Feed your teachers, then feed your students. So if there are multiple teachers in line, how do you determine which one you feed first? Same as students. Who's the first teacher to walk in? That would be the first teacher that gets fed. Again, female teachers cannot jump in front of male teachers. Male teachers cannot jump in front of female teachers, just like students can't jump in front of students. So looking at this, think about this for a second. These people are in line. James, Mr. Jones, who's a teacher. Any Mr. or Mrs. is a teacher. So James, Mr. Jones, Samantha, Roy, Mrs. Robinson, Mr. Knox, Max, and Miss Lindsay. James will not get fed first, even though he is first in line. And the reason he won't get fed first is because there are teachers in line. And so what happens is the first teacher in line is Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones will get the first plate. There is also another teacher in line who is Mrs. Robinson. Are there more teachers in line? Yes, and you must feed the teachers first. So third would be Mr. Knox. Are there more teachers? Yes, there are. Fourth would be Miss Lindsay. And now that all the teachers are out of line, you feed the students as they are. Okay? So teacher, 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 student, 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 student. Notice we're still going front to back based off of who's in line, but again, teachers get fed based off of who's in line first. Once all the teachers are fed, we feed the students. So when it comes to multiplication and division, work out the one that is first in line as you just saw me do. Okay? So the overall plan is that you should work out multiplication and division first. I don't care about addition and subtraction if multiplication and division are there. So in terms of order of operation, lower level, second level, this is unimportant to me as long as there's multiplication or division there. So if there's multiplication division, I don't see addition subtraction. Once all that's gone, now I do what I've been taught to do, which is to do the addition subtraction. So let's look at this real fast because again, these are the types of questions you're going to see on your homework. So what you do is you ask yourself, and I know you may not think of it as teachers, but is there any quote unquote teachers in line? Student, teacher, teacher, student, right? Because those two are higher, which means you feed the first teacher. 10 divided by 2 will go first. So 9 plus 10 divided by 2 is 5, and then copy everything else. That is where it gets crazy. 9 plus days, that's why I underline it. So 9 plus days, that turns into 5, and then the times 5 minus 5. Is there still a teacher in line? Yes, there is. So 9 plus comes down, 5 times 5 turns into 25, and then minus 5. Now all the teachers are gone, so you feed the first student, and you feed the first student. You can use your calculator to get these numbers. Not the final number, but if you don't know what 9 plus 25 is, use a calculator to figure it out. The only thing you have to do is type in all of these lines. And if you do not type all these lines, you're not going to get full credit, or really any credit for your work. Here we see 6 plus 20 divided by 2. The parentheses is not really a parentheses, that just means 2 times 10 divided by 25. And so in this problem, the question again is, are there any teachers? Yes. First teacher in line is 20 divided by 2. So 6 plus, that turns into 10, parentheses 10 divided by 25. Notice how I kept everything else the same. Are there any teachers in line? Yes. Remember, this is multiplication. Don't do that because that is a hidden multiplication. That's actually how you're going to show multiplication from here on out. So, based off of that, we now have 10 times 10, which makes 100. Are there any teachers in line? Again, keep kind of asking yourself that. Yes, there are. 100 divided by 25 turns into 4 because 25 goes into 100 4 times. And the last thing we do is 6 plus 4, which is 10. Remember, you are going to have to type in all of these steps in order to get your credit. I believe you can do it. You just have to make sure you take your time. You will not be able to rush through these problems. The good news is I don't give you a lot of them. But as long as you practice what you need to, you should be fine. 5 minus 3 plus 2 times 6 divided by 3 plus 1. Remember, that's times. That's 2 times 6. First teacher in line here is this one. So 5 minus 3 plus, that turns into 12 divided by 3 plus 1. Again, scan your operations. Are there any teachers? Yes, there are. There is one right there. So 5 minus 3 plus 12 divided by 3 is 4 plus 1. Are there any more teachers in line? No. So now you feed the first student, feed the first student, feed the first student. Alright? I think if you simplify how you view this, it's much easier to deal with. You pick the person you're going to give the food to, and you give the food to the first person that is in line at the higher level. If there are no teachers, you feed the first student. If there is a teacher, you feed the first teacher. So just remember that. Here, 4 times 2 minus 6 divided by 3 plus 8 divided by 2 times 2. Remember, that's multiplication. And so multiplication being a teacher, that is the first teacher in line. 8 minus 6 divided by 3 plus 8 divided by 2, parentheses 2. Again, are there any teachers in line? Yes, right there. 8 minus 2, because that turns into 2, plus 8 divided by 2 times 2. Any more teachers in line? Yes, there is. There it is right there. 8 minus 2 plus, that turns into 4, parentheses 2. Are there any teachers in line? Yes, and that's all we keep asking ourselves at first is, are there any teachers? That turns into 8. Now there's no more teachers, front to back. First student is here. First student turns into 14, and that is our answer. Alright. So, your final thought, make sure you don't overwhelm yourself with numbers and operations. Again, just focus on what's done first and rewrite everything else. And then figure out what's first and then rewrite everything else, and eventually you get down to where there's nothing else to do. So again, go ahead and go over to your MathXL, give that a try, email me any questions you have, send me a picture of the question as long as you've worked it out, and I can tell you where you messed up if you do that. It's really not that hard to do, especially if you ask for help. I'm pretty good at doing that. So other than that, answer that last question on the video, and good luck.